All right, next two is Shirley Block and Barbara Bird. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I see you.
President Warner and members of the TriMet board. My name is Shirley Block, president of ATU757, and I'm here today with ATU members as well as labor, community partners, Jobs with Justice, AFL-CIO, ask me, TJA, to ask this board to intervene with the deteriorating relationship between TriMet manager and the workers. Specifically, I am asking for this board to meet with ATU leaders and members as soon as possible to try and find a solution to the toxic relationship that now exists between TriMet managers and the workers that are here, that are the heart and soul of this public transportation. Let me first be very clear that I am not asking you to intervene with the collective bargaining activities that are scheduled to begin later this summer. What I am asking you to do is to work with union leaders and members before summer arrives to better understand how TriMet's workers are being harmed by the agency's aggressive anti-union tactics and the development of plan to this union hostility. But let me also be clear about something else. ATU is actively building a board coalition of labor unions and community groups, a small handful which you see here today, to better support and defend the workers' dignity and rights at TriMet. We can and will respond to TriMet aggressive anti-union tactics with destructive protests and legal action if that is the path we are forced to take by the agency unwilling to change. But if possible, we would prefer a different path. We would rather take a path mutual respect and collaboration, recognizing and share a goal and working together to achieve this path. Unfortunately, I am here today because time and opportunity to pursue the more peaceful path is quickly running out. In fact, many TriMet workers feel that the time and opportunity for collaboration has already passed. For good reasons, and for a very good reason, these workers believe that only major disruption of TriMet operation in Portland and legislative priorities in Salem can bring about meaningful change. To be honest with you, as someone who has worked at TriMet for 35 years, it's very hard for me to digest this point. As president of ATU and fully understand the risk of further upsetting these members, by coming to you today asking one final time for a respectful resolution to TriMet's growing culture. But because some ATU members still believe, even if only just a few, that meaningful dialogue remains there. What I'm asking that this board come together with us and try to do a resolution and work together as a team. We have managers that don't want to work with us, and I'm asking you, Bruce, you have control over this, to resolve this solution. Get together and work with us.
Okay. Shirley, I guess I want to say on behalf of the board, we understand that we have to work together in a collaborative way to provide service for the transit riders of the Portland metro area. And I'm troubled by what you've said there. I will work with the general manager. I think that a few years ago when I first got on board, we did have a meeting, a couple of us with some of the union leadership. I'd be more than willing to do that because I want to understand what it is that concerns you. What you said is a surprise to me, frankly, in terms of the way we've been working together. It looks like, from my perspective, that we're doing a good job working together on issues. So if that's not the case, we need to understand what those issues are, and we look forward to working with you on those.
Could you set a date with me? Have someone set a date with me today?
I don't think I can set a date with you today, but I'd be glad to work with you to set a date in the near future. All right. Good.
Thank you.
You bet. You bet. Barbara.
President Warner and members of the board, my name is Barbara Bird. I'm the Secretary-Treasurer of the Oregon AFL-CIO. I'm speaking today here on behalf of our President, Tom Chamberlain, who's out of the country, and of our 300,000 Union and Working America members who live in Oregon. The Amalgamated Transit Union, Local 757, is an affiliate of our federation, and I'm proud to be here today to speak in support of the dedicated union drivers and the maintenance employees of TriMet who go to work every day to ensure that our city's buses and light rail are running safely and effectively. So I'm going to reiterate some of what President Block just said. The Oregon Public Employee Collective Bargaining Act was passed almost 40 years ago in recognition of the importance of encouraging a harmonious and cooperative relationship between government and its employees. We believe that a positive labor management relationship is not only good for union employees, but it's good for TriMet. It's good for the writing public, and it's good for the community as a whole. Yet our federation is concerned by signals that TriMet management has not made a good faith effort to maintain a productive relationship with ATU, that it's failing to treat drivers and maintenance workers, its most valuable assets, with the dignity and the respect that they deserve. In fact, the entire labor community is concerned about poor labor management relations at TriMet. This situation has a direct impact on the working lives of the people who make sure that the buses and light rail are running on time and that the equipment is safe and reliable. TriMet management sets a bad precedent, and their conduct sends a bad message to other public employers about upholding the spirit of PECBA. And we know that the lack of a productive relationship between TriMet and ATU has consequences beyond its own workforce. We're concerned about impacts to the quality of service and effective stewardship of our public transportation system that so many working families rely on in this region. We're concerned about the negative consequences for TriMet's public image and the potential deterioration of the public's trust in the system. Our hope is that you, the TriMet board members, will take steps toward repairing the relationship between TriMet management and the Amalgamated Transit Union so that the parties can work together to improve the agency and the critical services that it provides. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I also have Jeff Klotke and John Hunt. Good morning.
Good morning, President Warner, Vice President Bethel, members of the board. My name is Jeff Klotke. I'm the president of Oregon AFSCME. We are a union that represents over 25,000 public services workers in Oregon. We represent workers at over 150 different employers and agencies in Oregon, including, among others, Metro, OHSU, Multnomah, and Clackamas counties, the city of Portland, and several agencies at the state of Oregon, including attorneys at the Department of Justice in the in the Office of the State Attorney General, Ellen Rosenblum. I mention these other large public employers, and in particular, the Attorney General's office, to illustrate how familiar AFSCME is with public sector labor relations in the Portland metropolitan region, and that we are also familiar with employers who, by their very nature, can be litigious and political. But even we, looking in from the outside, look at the condition of labor relations between TriMet and ATU and struggle to think of an employer with whom we have such a broken relationship and at such a high profile. Articles in several Portland publications are not infrequent in chronicling the contentious relationship between TriMet and its employees, and I am here to tell you that it does not have to be that way. AFSCME would prefer that it not be that way for you. Collaborative relationships are always the most productive. The collaboration between forward-thinking unions and their employers have led to amazing results here in our part of Oregon. The momentum for raising the minimum wage, for example, and paid sick leave and paid family leave started here in Multnomah County and the city of Portland and have elevated our entire community. Joint labor management healthcare committees have also been particularly valuable, routinely delivering better benefits, better experience levels, and lower costs to both employees and employers. AFSCME is very proud of the positive and collaborative atmosphere we have cultivated in the metropolitan region, and we hope TriMet and ATU can enjoy a similar relationship. AFSCME will continue to watch your relationship, and we hope that it doesn't start to affect the relationships that we have built with other public employers in the region. A collaborative relationship between TriMet and ATU could have tremendous positive results regarding, for example, the transportation package in the 2017 legislature, could result in higher employee and rider satisfaction, and so many other things. You have an opportunity to reset this relationship between TriMet and ATU, and on behalf of Oregon AFSCME, I encourage you to build a more collaborative relationship. I see I have a few minutes left, so if I could comment briefly on a letter dated February 5, 2016 from Christine Stevens to ATU regarding new employee union meetings. You should be very concerned about the quality of legal counsel you have received regarding the interpretation of ORS 243.670, and I'm happy to give these written remarks to you later. Specifically, the interpretation of the change to the statute by the legislature in 2013 regarding the use of public funds by a public employer as they relate to union activity. I'll submit my written remarks.
Thank you very much. Your comments are very much appreciated. Thank you. John?
Good morning, President Warren, members of the board. My name is Jonathan Hunt, Vice President of Amalgamated Transit Union Division 757. I'm here today with our labor and community partners to ask the board to work with us to repair our broken relationship with TriMet management. The amount of hostility towards ATU from some of TriMet's management team is not only destructive and counterproductive, it's unique. As members of the board may or may not know, ATU757 represents nearly every public worker in the state of Oregon and Southwest Washington, from Tillamook to Medford, Walla Walla to Bend. It is ATU members that help get Oregonians to work, to school, the doctor, and all other places to survive and thrive. Public transit is literally the lifeline for many Oregonians who would otherwise be isolated. And most public transit agencies in our state recognize its drivers, mechanics, and other members of ATU are actually providing the services that the public depends on. They aren't just the face of public transit, they are the hands, the head, and the heart. ATU members are the ones skipping meals to get strangers to church and to school on time. They are the ones skipping bathroom breaks because those know that even stopping for a quick restroom could cause somebody to be late to work or to lose their job. They are the ones being verbally and physically assaulted by passengers who are unhappy of service cancellations, overcrowding, and fares that they can't afford. And we deserve, in fact, we demand more than a once-a-year pat on the back and a few nice words, mostly for the camera or a plaque. The last time I traveled to Medford, for an example, to meet with Julie Brown, the general manager of Rogue Valley Transit District, I was greeted with a hug, not a handshake, a hug. And our meeting was warm, respectful, productive, remembering this is a conservative Southern Oregon location. Do we always agree? Of course not. But we respect each other. And we also solve problems together, just like we do in Eugene, Bend, Tillamook, and elsewhere. But here in Portland, TriMet management has done everything it can to prevent me from even visiting ATU members or having them visit us. As Jeff just explained, TriMet management has unilaterally canceled long-standing orientation practices to discourage new hires at the agency from meeting with union representatives. They have revoked my TriMet badge, making it harder to gain access and workplaces to try to address minor issues before they become major concerns. And TriMet management prefers that almost all issues be resolved through expensive and time-consuming formal grievance processes, rather than more informal labor management meetings. A best practice in the transit industry and elsewhere that doesn't happen at TriMet, and has been repeatedly called out for concerns in the audit. I will finish my remarks very briefly. Audit after audit after audit of TriMet, including the recent Secretaries of State audit. Yet these days, TriMet management responds to most requests to talk to the ATU, an issue by either ignoring us or having their lawyers send us letters explaining why TriMet isn't required to talk to us unless we file legal action. It doesn't have to be that way. It shouldn't be that way. I hope the members of TriMet Governing Board feels differently than the staff does, because I know that a more productive relationship is possible. I know this because it already is a reality at the other transit agencies in our state. And this is why, one final time, we are coming before the board today and asking you to work with us to solve this problem. We are hopeful that you will accept our offer. But as you heard from our president earlier this morning, should your efforts fail, we can and will do whatever it is necessary to protect the dignity and rights of the workers at TriMet. The choice is yours. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, John. We look forward to having some dialogue with you folks. Thank you. Right. And so I've got Michael Tetch, is it, with the Community Cycling Center, and I'm going to go back to the person, Charles Ornsby. I don't know whether he's here now. Okay. Come on up, please.
President Warner, members of the TriMet Board, good morning. My name is Michael Tete. I serve as the Chief Executive Officer of the Community Cycling Center. The Community Cycling Center believes everyone deserves access to the freedom, health, and benefits and joy of bicycling. And today, in addition to representing the Community Cycling Center, I'm here before you as co-chair and representative of the Transportation Justice Alliance, or TJA. TJA is an influential regional coalition of grassroots community organizations and allies that believe transportation is a human right and whose mission is to build power in low-income communities and communities of color to ensure an affordable, equitable, and environmentally sustainable transportation system. TJA members include racial justice organizations like the Asian Pacific American Network of Oregon, the Center for Intercultural Organizing, the Native American Youth and Family Center, as well as environmental justice organizations like OPAL, or economic justice organizations like the Oregon Food Bank, and Oregon's most effective transportation and land use advocacy groups like 1,000 Friends of Oregon, the Bicycle Transportation Alliance, the Community Cycling Center, and Oregon Walks. I'm here today as a representative of these groups to express our shared concerns over the antagonistic and dysfunctional relationship that currently exists between TriMet management and the Amalgamated Transit Union. TriMet's relationship with its workers has been tense for many years. That certainly isn't news to anyone in this room. But recent actions by TriMet staff that you've already heard plenty about today threaten to make this tension even worse. I'm here because it is critical for this board to fully appreciate the multiple ways in which further alienating ATU and Oregon's labor community, as well as transportation, land use, and community advocates, is counterproductive to the goals that we all share, or at least should share, with TriMet. Let me give you two very quick non-labor examples of how TriMet is increasingly isolating itself from long-standing and/or potential allies. First, TriMet's aggressive pursuit of an even bigger slice of regional flexible funding to finance the agency's construction debts at the expense of safe routes to school funding that has been prioritized by community members and advocacy groups is beyond frustrating. It shows how out of touch the agency is with the needs of the communities it purports to serve. The second example, which is an intolerably regressive wage tax proposal that TriMet attempted and failed to pass during the most recent state legislative session. This regressive wage tax on working families forced many of TriMet's once upon a time allies in the transportation, land use, and social justice communities to openly oppose it, including two of the largest environmental and land use advocacy groups in our state, the Oregon Environmental Council and 1,000 Friends of Oregon. TriMet's increasing unilateralism, and I really feel that's the right word for it, with respect to both organized labor and community advocates, is making all of our shared goals harder to identify and achieve. But the broken relationship between TriMet management and its workers creates an additional concern for community advocates like me because of the well-respected, adequately supported, and collaboratively engaged workers that you need that serve as the backbone of the world-class transportation system that we all want for our region. Indeed, an agency that has spent so much time lately talking about safety, the number one thing that it can do in this area, hands down, is to improve the relationship with its drivers and its mechanics. This isn't a controversial thing to say. It's a point that has been made in multiple audits of TriMet and throughout the transit research nationally. We need to find solutions together. We need to work as a team to pass new policies and revenue measures that respect the dignity and rights of TriMet's workers and improve transit service in our region. On behalf of TJA, I'm asking members of this board to meet with union leadership leadership and members to begin the difficult process of reconciliation so that the true supporters of public transit, workers and riders alike, can have the system we all want, need, and deserve. Thank you for your time.
Are you Mr. Ormsby? Please come on up. And then the last one I have sign up is Bill Wimmer. Bill, you want to come up too? Come on up. Don't worry.
Is it too late to sign up?
It is.
Okay. Then I'll leave most of my time to, go ahead.
Can you see part of his time?
We'll give you a few moments more, but yes. Bill, do you want to start?
Hi, Bill Wimmer, President. Mr. Warner, member of the TriMet Board. My name is Bill Wimmer. I'm President and retired member chapter of Amalgamated Transit Union. There's a lot I could add to the comments and concerns that have already been shared today. And of course, I join the others in asking this board to work with ATU leadership and members like me to address the broken relationship between TriMet management and its workers. And of course, there's plenty that I could say about TriMet's broken promises to people like me who gave their heart to this agency and helped to become one of the most respected transit providers in the country, only to find that the benefits we bargained for and relied on have been significantly reduced. In fact, I almost didn't make it today because I've been sick. But despite all of this, I'm here today because I believe that this agency's anti-union activities must be stopped if TriMet is ever going to return to the kind of effective, admired agency that it once was. Don't believe the hype of TriMet's recent public opinion surveys, which any responsible members of this board should have recognized obscured transit rider opinions by burying them under the opinions of people who rarely, if ever, actually use the system. The truth of the matter is service and satisfaction among riders is way down, especially from what it was when I still worked at the agency. And one of the major reasons for this is the TriMet willingness to cast union members of this as members of the enemies of the agency. This damages the morale of drivers, who are then less friendly and less effective operators, which is a well-known safety issue. Worker morale is at an all-time low, and frustration with management is at an all-time high as a result. And TriMet's public relations campaign against the union sends a clear message to the public that they don't have to treat drivers with respect and dignity either, which increases driver confrontations and assaults. Members of this board may not know this, but Amalgamated Transit Union made TriMet possible. Before TriMet was created in the 1970s, ATU organized transit workers across the various transit providers that used to operate in our region, most notably Rose City Transit, where I started in 1969, after serving my country in the Navy it was ATU members like me that helped consolidate transit in our region to provide better service, accountability, and governance. The fact of the matter is that ATU is TriMet. Without our past support, it would be nothing, and with our future support, it will become nothing. It is disgusting, to say the least, to witness the agency that I helped create aggressively trying to destroy the very people and institutions that created it in the first place. As someone who has worked in the transit region in this area for 47 years, longer than TriMet itself has even existed, I can tell you for sure that the problem lies mostly with some of the members of TriMet current management team. The counterproductive and cruel shift in culture and these staff members have helped make happen is a threat to the agency, its workers, and the general public, and it must be reversed. This board has the power to do that. You have the opportunity to meet with union members like me to better understand the history of the agency you govern and the ways in which current climate of anti-unionism is undermining our shared goals. I hope you will recognize the long-term threat that this climate represents and help the people who care the most about transit in our region to return to the kind of productive, collaborative relationship we used to enjoy with management. I hope that my children and grandchildren will not be forced to grow up in a region where people like their grandfather are the scapegoat for poor management and planning decisions. And I hope my children and grandchildren can someday soon enjoy the kind of quality, friendly, and professional service that used to be valued at TriMet. Thank you for your time.